What's going on YouTube? This is Bankroll Challenge Part 8. But before we get into the hands, I'm going to need y'all to subscribe to the channel. Drop a like for the boy. The video never disappoints. We are at MGM National Harbor, buying in for 300 at 1-3. Ready to knock down this Bankroll Challenge. We're almost there. So without further ado, let's get right into the action. So here we are in our first hand, looking down at the beautiful ace-queen offsuit and the hijack. There's a few limps to me, so I decided to bump it up a little bit more than usual. I go to 20 and only the button calls, so that's exactly the result that I wanted. We're off to a flop, which comes king 9-3. Not the best flop for my hand in particular, but for my range is pretty good. I'm going to have all the ace-king, king-queens, king-jack suited. You get what I'm saying. So I decided to bet out for 20. And she calls. So not too alarming. I figured if she had anything, she would call at least one time. Maybe even queen 10 with a gut shot would call one time, or 9-10 for second pair would call one time. So on the turn, we see a deuce. So now I'm looking over at her stack. She has about 100 left. So I want to put out a bet that lets her know that I'm going to be going for all of it on the river. So I bet 45, and I guess my read was wrong because she looked rather uncomfortable, but then she decides to jam all in. And when people look uncomfortable and then they just hit you with the, oh, well, I guess I'm all in, it's always a strong hand. So I don't even think about it. I snap fold, and we ended up bluffing off 85 to start off the session. So hopefully we can get this back in the next few hands. So next hand, we're looking down at a beautiful suited connector. We have 3-4 of hearts in the small blind. The middle position player raises it up to 15, and when it gets to me, I decide to call. I do have a low frequency 3-bet off the small blind with this hand, but looking at middle position stack, he only has 100, so that would be a total punt to just jam. So I decide to call. Big blind calls. The under the gun limper also decides to call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop, which I don't mind. 3-4 suited performance very well, multi-way. So the flop comes king, deuce, 5 with 2 diamonds. So we are open-ended. Any ace or any 6 would give us the straight. And so I check. Everyone checks until it gets to the raiser, who bets out for 25. Now when it gets to me, 25 into a pot of 60, I'm always going to call. Even though we don't have all clean outs, I figure it's definitely worth the call here. So I stick in the money, and now we're only going heads up to the turn, which is a 6. So we now have the nuts. So I'm just hoping he puts out one more bet, and he does, and that bet is all in. The count is 65. So I snap call. The river is a 3, and we win. And I didn't think it would be this quick to run it all the way back to profit. So now it's just time to run this up. So this hand's not overly interesting, but we have pocket kings. We raised it up to 15, and we only get one caller. It's the man here to the right. He's a war veteran from North Korea, so you should do your research and know how old he is. And we're going off to a flop, which comes ace high, which is horrible with pocket kings. He actually leads and goes all in. I think about it. I know that I'm behind, but there's 3 reasons why I call. 1, he's a war veteran, so why not? 2, it's only for $13 more. And the third reason is there's 2 hearts on the board, and as you see, I do have the king of hearts. So I call, brick, he shows ace 3, and we lose. This is by far the most interesting hand of the session. We have pocket 9s in the cutoff. There is a hijack raise to 15. Definitely should be putting in a 3-bet here, but he's an unknown, and as you see, he just sat down, so I don't know anything about him or his raising range, so I call this played. That brings in the button, the under the gun limper, and the +1 limper. So this is horrible. Going 5 ways to the flop with pocket 9s is not ideal, but no worries, as we flop top set 9-7 deuce. There's 2 spades out there, so it checks to the initial raiser like it normally would, and unfortunately he decides to put in a check. I would have loved to do a check raise here, but there's only the button behind me, and I don't want to bank on him calling. So I decide to bet out myself for 25. You should definitely make an argument that I should put out a bigger bet, seeing as this board is super wet and connected. I should put out a bet maybe closer to 40 or 50. The pot has 75 in it already, and I think on a board like this, if anybody has a flush draw, they'll definitely call it a larger size bet. But as played, I only put out a bet of 25, and I actually only get the button behind me to call. So going to be playing the rest of this hand out of position, but we do have a set, so we think we can make it happen. The turn is an 8, so it's not the worst card, but it's definitely not the best card. If he had 5-6 of spade or Jack 10 of spades, he now has a straight. But Now I decide to go sneaky mode and check it. He obliges and puts out a bet of 30. So I'm not scared. I'm going to check raise this up all the way to 90. Could even go a little bit larger actually. As you see, he has an incredibly large stack. So maybe I should have went a little bit larger. And he doesn't think about it for too long and he decides to call. Now we're off to a river which is the worst one imaginable. It is the 5 of spades. It means any 6 is a straight. The flush draw got there. So either I'm behind or I'm not going to be able to get paid. So now I'm thinking if I should check call or if I should block bet or if I should just go all in. I'm trying to decide about what I should do. Right now, you should leave this in the comments about what option you feel like is the best. But as played, I decided to go all in. And yes, we fade the snap call, which means he doesn't have a flush for sure. And he probably doesn't have a 6. So he thinks about it for a while, and he actually says that there's just no way he can call me. He does show his cards, and he does have 8-7 of clubs, so he has 2 pairs. So any other river in the deck, I probably would have been getting paid, but that's how poker goes. It's not always about bad beats that hurt your win rate. It's also the times where an action-killing card comes and you don't get to get paid off to the maximum. So it is what it is. No point in complaining when you're getting a rather large pot shipping your way, but definitely wanted a little bit more, and we're off to the next one. A few hands later, we look down at a beautiful premium hand, pocket queens in the big blind. So there's 3 limps before it gets to me, and I'm going to raise this up a little bit larger than normal. I'm not exactly thrilled about going 4 ways to the flop with pocket queens, so I go to 25 and only the under the gun limper and the button decide to call. And we get a beautiful flop in queen 6 deuce. So we hit top set once again, and obviously I have this board so crushed you could make a very strong argument that I should just check, see if somebody stabs or let somebody catch up on the turn. But whenever I'm thinking about checking, I just decide to put out a small bet. So the pot has about 80. I bet out for 20, which is only a quarter pot. That does 2 things. It gives somebody a very cheap price if they have ace high, backdoor flush draw to peel one, or if somebody wants to bluff. It also is a good candidate for them to do so. They might read my small bet as weakness. So I go 20, and the under the gun is thinking about it. He's looking like he wants to call, but then he actually pulls out some raising chips, and I'm just thinking, please raise, please raise. I have the stone cold nuts at the moment, and I would be thrilled if he did it. But unfortunately, after going over all his options, he folds, and that's the worst case scenario because then the button immediately folds. So leave in the comments how you would have played this set of queens. Would you have checked? Would you have bet? And if so, leave the reasons why. I gave you my reasons. So we're off to the final hand of the session. Let's see how it goes. In this final hand, we have ace-jack offsuit under the gun. I raise it up to 15 and get 4 callers. That's right. We're going 5 ways to the flop, which comes king 9 deuce. You could say that this smashes my range, but being that I'm so monster away, I'm not going to put $1 into this pot. So I check, and it checks all the way around. So the turn is another king, and I'm still going to follow the script. I'm not going to put a penny into this pot. So I check, and once again, it checks all the way around. So we're off to a river, which is an ace. That is a beautiful card. There's a good chance that somebody else could have an ace. And seeing as that it checked around twice, I'm going to put out a bet knowing that another ace is definitely going to have to put in a call. But unfortunately, they all fold. And I know this doesn't seem like a very interesting hand, but 4 people called a $15 bet. So that's $60 that we're making in profit. Obviously, you got to take out another 6 because of the rake. But that's still a decent sized pot. And when you're playing 1-3, those pots are going to add up. So it's good to take that one down. We're going to catch you in the outro. Let's tally this up and see where we're at. Before we get into the stats, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you didn't do so already. Drop a like for the boy, and also comment on your favorite hand of the session or one you want to talk about. I'm active in the comments. So we had a profit this video of 238, bringing the profit total to 4,011, making the total bankroll at 9,011. So we only have 889 left to go. So I appreciate y'all being on this journey. I'm going to try to knock it out in the next 2 videos, and then we'll be 2-5 in it. So until the next one, holla.